Hi everyone. Just before I start off this talk, I think it's really important to ask all of you a very valid question. Have any of you wondered, what is the meaning of life? I know what a lot of you are thinking. Oh my gosh, she's one of those. Don't even get me started. But it's an important question to ask. So have any of you wondered about it? Don't be embarrassed to admit if you have or haven't. I'm sure we've all had existential crises by now. Now, one day, I was really curious, and also because I had nothing better to do in my life, mostly because I had nothing better to do in my life, so I got out my dictionary and searched up the meaning of life. Now, this is the part where I want you to brace yourselves, because this definition may not align well with everyone. Because according to a dictionary, the meaning of life is, quote, an existence of an individual human being or animal. There you go. That is the so-called definition of life. I'm sorry, what just happened? What happened to all of the problems that people face on a day-to-day basis? The physical agony, the mental agony, the financial problems. I mean, it's a never-ending list, right? What happened to all of that? Now, I would love to disagree with that meaning and, in fact, go out on a limb and say that when we talk about the quality of life, we don't simply mean existing. Instead, we talk about growth. And if we have learned anything from growth, anything from teachers, sorry teachers, that growth comes from accepting our problems and trying to build ourselves from that point onwards. And that journey of development, unfortunately, includes some pretty hard to forget regrets. But by the end of this talk, I hope you'll realize that regrets are actually important for you, and you should actually appreciate regrets. I see some confused faces, probably questioning my sanity, but it will all make sense later. So, obviously, I'm 15 years old, so I might not be viewed as the most experienced person ever, but there are definitely some key moments in my life that have shaped me into the sort of person I am today. Let's quickly head back to the year 2009, a year after I was born. My grandmother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Me being one, I couldn't even ponder what my family was going through. I mean, forget my family, what my own grandmother was going through. I mean, she was the innocent person in this entire situation, not fully even grappling what life would look like for her from 5 to 10 years from then. But life goes on. So I grew up with her by my side, playing Barbies with me, playing dress up, you know, the typical kid stuff. But it wasn't until 2019 when things really changed. My grandfather had just passed away. Once again, emotions were all over the place. While some were grieving the loss of my grandfather, others were worried about my grandmother. What is she going to do now that her lifelong companion was no longer there? Because of this incident, she moved in with us. And this is the part where I'm really being transparent with all of you, more than I even should, because I was selfish. I really was. There were times where every evening I would go down to the playground to play with my friends, play basketball, play football, you name it, what every kid does. But never once did I think about that my grandmother was inside that house from morning to night without stepping out. I went on with my life. I went to the playground. I had fun with everyone. But I couldn't take my grandmother with me. Why? I'll never know. Another incident. One morning, I woke up around 9 a.m. and just lazed around on the couch, doing God knows what for 2 hours. But that entire time, I never once realized that my grandmother had been up since 7 a.m. without a drop of water, all because she couldn't have it herself. Oh, it's too complicated. Why couldn't she take water herself? It's fine. It's not like I care, right? Looking back at those days, I still feel as if there's an empty feeling lurking about in my heart. I took that time for granted, and I'm never going to get that time back. After that time with us, she went back to India to live with my aunt. And that is when her condition really deteriorated. It got so bad that they had to put her into a care facility. I'm never going to get that time back. I know, I'm the best granddaughter ever, right? But you might be wondering, why am I telling you all of this? Why should you possibly care, right? That wasn't your grandmother. That wasn't your life. Frankly, it had nothing to do with you. No offense, but yeah, it did not, right? So why should you really care? You should really care because this should be the opportunity to replicate my story into your own experiences. Think about a time when you made a mistake and you were constantly belittling yourself about it. What are you supposed to take from that? What would you tell your past self to do in that moment? Would you just tell them to grieve? I mean, that's natural and suggested, but then what? I hope you're thinking that you should try to take advantage of your regrets and try to transform them into something better for the future. Now, here's the thing. Regrets might seem like a burden to us all because of how much we dwell on them. But that's only the pessimistic side. What about the optimistic side? The side of you that wants to grow from those past mistakes, wants to transform those regrets into something better for the future so you could look back at yourself and say, hey, I did everything I could to become someone better, to become someone with better morals, or just be more compassionate in general. Now, think about a time when you were constantly cursing at yourself for making those mistakes, worrying about it day and night. Are those really regrets? Or are they just reflections of your past self that you're acknowledging, the mistakes that you are acknowledging, to try to be somewhat better for the coming years? Are those regrets or are those reflections? Have a think about that. Now, I just want to end it off with a pretty good quote. I know, we all love to end things with a good quote, but this one's pretty nice. Now, a wise person once said, life is never supposed to be in the order of how you want it to be, because regrets exist, but how you move past them is exactly what defines life. And that wise person was me. Thank you, everyone.